I do apologize to Tony. Maybe Mac will actually know what is happening at the moment right now.
Should. I mean, I did get a decently low amount of sleep because I stayed up watching some movies I need to watch for the Oscars, including one Best Picture nominee that I think was shitty, but we'll episode release a little.
Alright.
Yep.
Alright, let's continue with Longmo's. I believe this is her second testimony. I don't know. It was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. I'm not even tapped in. I should probably do that. There was something like a little window there. That's how I saw it. There were two shots. I couldn't do anything to stop it. But it wasn't Maki. It was a grown person. I know it was.
So you did witness the crime, and the killer was a grown person, you say?
This was my first time hearing this, I assure you. Nice play, Earth Forehead.
Very well, Mr. Justice. You may begin your examination.
Great going, Apollo. You were right about Laminoir.
Lamior.
What's wrong? You don't look too happy.
This whole thing smells fishy. That's what's wrong. I was running away from the stage to the backstage exit. How did we take 2 bars of damage? I don't know when that happened, but... So you were heading toward the dressing room? Yes. So this is a little before she opened the dressing room door and dropped her brooch. About the same time Emma and I heard those shots. I was on my way back. There was something like a little window there. That's how I saw it. What exactly is something like a little window? Yes, well, window is the best word I know in English. I think this is how it is said, yes. Not to worry, Lamior. The choice of words is impeccable. There is a small window in the dressing room in question. Perhaps the defense remembers its detail? A little window on the wall. I saw the claim from there. There were 2 shots. I couldn't do anything to stop it. You were certain you heard 2 shots fired? Yes, quite certain. I was on my way to the backstage exit. This is when I heard the faint sound, like a gunshot. Wondering what it had been, I peered through the window. That is when I heard the second gunshot, much closer. And there were 2 bullet holes at the scene. No contradiction so far. It all happened on the other side of the window. There was nothing I could do. But it wasn't Maki! It wasn't Maki who shot. Are you sure? Yes, quite certain. It pleases me that you would question her testimony. It is testimony in your favor. Isn't it my job to object?
Yeah, Apollo. What were you thinking?
Choosy, let's just listen to what Lamior has to say. Can you tell me how you were so sure? Yes, of course. You see, it was a grown person. I know it was. A grown person? That's a little vague. I am sorry. My skill with your language is lacking, I know.
Certainly, you could at least see whether the shooter was male or female.
It was a man. A young man. Young man.
And you're sure of that?
Yes, his voice was quite clear. The voice?
Looking at this diagram, it seems the dressing room was quite cluttered. It does seem likely that you wouldn't have had a clear view of the shooter.
As a senior, I rely more on my ears than my eyes. When I hear the voice, I do not forget it. That voice, it was the voice of a man. To hear the voice. But wait, wouldn't that have been the victim, Mr. Letus? Absolutely not. Did I just not say that I do not forget the voice? If it was Mr. Letus who had spoke, I would have known.
Indeed. So, you were at the window, and you heard the shooter's voice. The voice of a young man.
Young man.
Apollo, this is a good testimony. That proves it wasn't Maki.
Indeed. If this turns out to be true, we would cast this case in a considerably different light. What is the defense's opinion of this testimony? It's pretty good. It's contradictory.
I was looking and I was like, is it? Though it pains me to say this, but if it was correct, then we wouldn't move forward in this trial. But
yeah,
there's something about Lamio's testimony that rings false. Although, Fred, you're colder than I thought. I'm sure you remember what the problem is as well as I do, Gavin. As has been established, no grown man could pass through that air vent. He couldn't have fled the scene of the crime. That's all my statements.
But that means Lamioir has to be lying.
I know. And I know it's bad for our case, but I can't shut my eyes to this. Believe me, the idea was tempting. It is as Fred says. Yet, this is not the only contradiction within her testimony. What next? What's he talking about? Lamioir, I understand why you would want to protect Maki. Yet remember, you are the signer of the ballad. And lies do not become of such a creature.
what does the prosecution mean?
Apollo, what's he talking about?
How come no one bats an eye when he says stuff like that? I recall the state of the crime scene quite well. The state of the room? Yes, and when the murder took place, that window was closed. I find it hard to believe you could hear a voice through it. What? But I'm sure. Lamioir, I have nothing but the highest regard for your musical sense. But my opinion of you as a witness is somewhat lesser.
Objection!
But she's the only white witness we have!
Objection!
So you say? And the victim named her, the siren, as the witness. That's right. That's what Mr. Latus. He heard your claim. He even entertained the possibility, and it brought us to this. Judge,
Yes?
the prosecution requests that the witness be excused. Please.
I'm afraid I must honor the prosecution's request. There is indeed a question of the witness's credibility.
But if Lamioir can't testify,
Then we don't have a chance of proving Maki's innocence.
This arrest examination is over. Prosecutor Gavin, you may continue making your case.
Dunk. No, where were we? Ah, yes. I would like to hear it from Fardine Detective again. Oh, wait! Let me hear Lamioir's testimony one last time.
But the cross-examination is already over. Until such a time as a need arises, this witness may leave the stand.
I'm sorry I could not be of more assistance. I don't know how to speak. At last, back to the real trial. Ready, Airforehead? Ugh, I hope I didn't just miss my only chance. Darling Detective, how far had we gotten until we were so rudely interrupted? Don't ask me! I dislike saying the same thing twice. And I never repeat a song for an encore.
If you would, Miss Sky.
I believe I was saying that the only way Mr. Latus's killer could have escaped was through that air vent on the ceiling.
Ah, yes. There was only one door in the room. And a witness you was standing in front of it.
That air vent isn't very big, see, Che? Kind of limits the people who can possibly go through.
I certainly would have a difficult time.
You sure would. I think it would have been there in the first place, though. Remember, the whole backstage area was off limits to people not involved with the concert. The only one who meets the conditions for our killer is the defendant. And for the virtuoso performance, I couldn't have said it better myself.
She does state a clear case. Though, reading the report, something caught my Aye.
Oh, what's that?
The circumstances of the defendant's arrest.
The circumstances. Again?
Hey, that's right, Apollo. Remember when we found Maki? That was bizarre.
She's right. Why did Mr. Lotuse's body disappear from the room and end up on top of that stage tower, holding a guitar, no less? A perceptive observation there, Judge.
Thanks. It was kind of an accident, really. But you work in this job long enough, you get a nose for things.
The judge sure seems pleased with himself.
Very good, Filing Detective. Perhaps you can tie it all together for us. Why was the body moved? And how does that lead us to the killer? I believe Maki stole the body because of some lyrics. He moved the body to match Lamio's song. No one in this country had a motive to kill the victim, and Maki practically left his signature at the scene. All of this evidence clearly points to the defendant. Lamio's song? Yes, the guitar's serenade. You noticed it's code too, did you not? It's code. All the events on that day followed the lyrics to our song.
Can I sing it?
First, the keys my heart held on too tightly was stolen. You'll get another chance, don't worry. And then Prosecutor Gavin's guitar burst into flames on stage. Mr. Lotuse's life was taken by a bullet. The rest hardly needs explanation. Guitar, guitar, up together to the sky.
That's mad! It's like a story out of some fairy tale.
I admit, I've forgotten about the song. But there it is now, waiting for me. The grand finale, as it were.
Hey, you know, I was the one who first noticed that.
Shut the fuck up.
I've heard of jumping rope to songs and counting to songs, but killing?
It's a wild world out there, Judge.
Very well. We've heard one song and dance. Let's get on to the next. The cross-examination.
I'm not so sure I'm going to be doing much singing. I believe I can steal the body because of some lyrics. Who would steal a body just to match some lyrics? I didn't believe it myself, but it can't just be a coincidence. Because as Filing Detective says, let us begin with the first verse, if you would, Filing Detective. What? You want me to sing it? You are the witness, yeah? Or did you want me to sing? I warn you, my fee as a vocalist is not trivial. Fine, fine. Let's look at the first part of the lyrics, shall we? When you stole away the keys, my heart's held on to so tight. Indeed, what the fuck was that? My favorite heart-shaped key ring was stolen that morning. Next we go to the right page of the lyrics sheet, where we find burning on in my heart, fire, burning my love away, all away. As we know, Prosecutor Gavin's guitar burst into flame. Like a bullet of love, fire, take my life away, all away. Mr. Lotuse's life was taken by a bullet. The Filing Detective, your singing is not bad. Now for the finale. Guitar, guitar, up together to the sky. It says in the lyrics, Mr. Lotuse was found with a guitar, high in the sky, over the stage. No series of coincidences could be so well conceived. He's right, scientifically speaking. What would Walkie have said? That concert was whack?
It's hard to argue when she pours her heart into it like that.
Anyway, the shooter. He moved the body to match the Lamio's song. Oh, good lord. Does the prosecution have any idea why you do all this? You want my scientific opinion? No clue. But he clearly had a reason to go through all that trouble. Some deep reason. A deep reason? Not only did he steal my keys, he torched my guitar! Unforgivable acts even if he had the reason. And worse if he had none. The diva's complaints aside, I can't imagine someone doing this on just a whim. Friendly detective! I think it fits at that description.
Indeed, it does seem too well rehearsed, shall we say?
Yes, this crime was planned for sure. No one in this country had a motive to kill the victim. But Mr. Lutu spoke English! He may have come to this country before. I looked into that, I assure you. Oh? It was his first time in the country, it seems. Apparently he learned English on his own. Great. You see? No one knew had the motive to kill him, and certainly not in such an elaborate fashion.
It does seem difficult to imagine.
Unless our famous prosecutor did it as a publicity stunt. What did you say?
Prosecutor Gavin, you did this to promote your song?
Of course not. And I'm quite dismayed by the ludicrous nature of the crime. Why would I need promotion? Everyone already listens to my music.
They're even in my textbook at school.
I never heard of them. What does that say about me? I was just kidding. Don't get all worked up, Glimmer Boy. And Maki practically left his signature at the scene. What do you mean by his signature? The bullet holes in the wall, of course. Bullet holes. The revolver was fired twice. One shot missed and left a hole in the wall.
And that means what exactly?
That dressing room isn't exactly spacious. Picture the shooter facing off with the victim in there. They can't have been more than 5 feet apart. It would be difficult.
Because they're not gay.
Almost impossible to miss that range.
Difficult to miss, you say?
Very.
Miss who?
And assuming the shooter could properly aim. No, you can't be serious.
Maki, he can't see. That's why he missed.
That's the only explanation that makes sense. He used sound and other senses to fire the gun. Poorly. Of course. The only other person who could miss is Darren. Have you seen his Counter-Strike game? That reminds me, the monitor in that room was blaring at the time, yeah? All the ideal conditions were tracking my sound.
A blind shooter? No wonder he missed!
I knew those bullet holes would come back to haunt me. Think, Justice. What do I do now?
I don't fucking know. I always fuck these up.
Well, specifically, these ones are always consistent.
Raise an objection.
Yeah. Sure, there were bullet holes left in the wall. Owie. But that doesn't prove the shooter couldn't see! Oh, how so? Well, there could have been a struggle with the victim.
That's certainly possibly.
And it might have been the revolver's fault.
The revolver's the killer?
The revolver was a very large caliber, correct?
If the shooter wasn't used to firing such a large weapon, why, it could dislocate their shoulder.
Exactly. The defendant Maki Tobaya is, as you can see, tiny. It's not so hard to picture him firing the gun and missing entirely. The kickback alone will throw off his aim.
A convincing argument, to be sure.
Aha! Take that, smug prosecution.
Apollo?
Huh? What?
That bit about Maki being tiny and the gun throwing off his aim? Aren't you kind of, admitting that he did it?
Oh. It does not matter why he missed. What matters is that the shooter was, without a doubt, the defendant. Even the defense seems to agree on that point. Crap. I really put my foot in it this time. But let's get the facts of the matter on the record. If you would, friendly detective.
Very well. The witness will add this to her testimony.
Right. From the state of the crime scene, I conclude the shooter was blind. You can't say he was blind just because of those bullet holes in the wall! I think I've proven that! I wouldn't call it proof, per se. Huh? You merely raised the possibility. The detective has made the most logical conjecture based upon the evidence. Of course, there is more evidence than just bullet holes. The defendant was only one who could have. The defendant was the only one who could have escaped through the air vent. But wait! If he was blind, how would he know about the air vent in the first place? Ah, very good point. Well, sorry, detective, if you would care to explain. He certainly seemed sure of himself. Recall the crime scene, if you would. There was a stepladder below the air vent. As it happens, maintenance was scheduled for that day. Custodial staff went around checking all the air vents. I don't believe it. Everyone backstage was told about the maintenance, including Maki Tobaye. He would have known that there would have been a way out at the top of that stepladder. But that's... Why is this the first time I'm hearing about this? You could have figured it out for yourself. You only needed to consider what that stepladder was doing there.
Looks like the defense's objection has been squished by a stepladder.
There's Fred. Out of ammunition, perhaps? I've never seen Prosecutor Kevin so aggressive. Maybe he's caught the scent of blood.
Apollo, don't you have something? Anything? You know what we need? We need something to prove the killer could see. That'll put him in his place.
Proving the shooter was sighted. Proving the shooter was sighted. He has sight. Would do it. That would take down one of those central points. Do I have any evidence that can prove that, though?
Oh God, can we look at the evidence?
Yeah. Alright.
To prove that they had sight. Okay.
Well, we got the lyrics and the crime follows the lyrics, but still, you can hear the lyrics. This is the gag order, saying that nobody needs to know that the dude was shot. Postcard of Lamua. The gun itself is a revolver. Bilge was found on the crime scene, and belongs to Lamua. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Died from loss of blood from a gunshot wound. Here's the crime photo. And the diagram of the video.
Proof that they were sighted.
Yeah, they can see. It was something you noticed quite immediately.
It was?
Yeah.
Proof that they could see.
Yeah.
They smear the blood.
Fine. I accept the prosecution's challenge. As I knew you would, that's Fred. You probably said that without even knowing why. That's the right answer. What exactly am I up against here? The prosecution is saying the shooter missed because they couldn't see. Therefore, Maki, who's blind, did it.
The defense will please present their evidence. Evidence overturns the prosecution claim that the shooter couldn't see.
Fuck you! No! Ah! God damn it, dude. It just dropped an input, dude. Oh, Jesus. We're panicking right now! We're panicking! Alright. Okay. Alright. Alright. There we go. Jesus Christ. The prosecution holds that the shooter couldn't see. A scientific conclusion based on a thorough examination of the crime scene, yes. Apparently not thorough enough. I have a certain piece of evidence that completely overturns your claim. What? This is that evidence!
Ah! The photograph of the crime scene.
I don't care much for the smoke on Prosecutor Gibbons' face, but this is no time to think twice. Time to press on! Yes, Your Honor. The crime scene. There is something in here that decisively contradicts the prosecution's point. And perhaps you just showed us this something. Get your finger out of the breeze and put it to good use, y'all.
Very well, show us what you're talking about, Mr. Justice. The contradiction at the crime scene.
The contradiction is right here. The smeared bloodstains.
I thought it was just my blurry vision. But it really was blurry! The way the victim's hand is raised above his head. Much like a gesture. Gesture I have seen many times in this court.
Almost as if he wrote something.
Aha! I get it! At least, I think I get it.
It's what, Solane?
When Mr. Latouche was shot, he tried to write something. And what would he write but the shooter's name? And what would he write in it but his own blood? Pretty good, huh?
Thanks for making my point for me. Yes, in fact, that's what I think happened here.
That does seem to be a distinct possibility.
The victim wrote the killer's name. It's certainly a logical conclusion.
Drat. I just wish it wasn't all rubbed out like that.
Of course it's rubbed out. Why, if I were a killer, I certainly wouldn't want to leave my own name behind.
Neither would I. No one has anything else to say?
About what?
So the prosecution accepts this? You agree that this was the victim making an attempt to record the name of the killer? And that the killer tried to rub the name out? What's your point? What's my point? Let me ask you this. How did the killer know the victim was writing their name? Well, Mr. Latouche was writing something in blood. Once the killer saw what it was. Wait.
Once he saw what it was?
But what did you just testify about the shooter? I said they were blind. Yet the crime scene itself contradicts that! The killer had been able to see. Why would they rub out the name in blood otherwise? May I remind the court that the defendant, Maki Tabaye, is blind? He couldn't have been the shooter! Impossible!
Order! Prosecutor Gavin, please explain to me what all this means! I mean, looking at this photo, it seems quite clear that the shooter could see. Yet, up until now...
It seems I owe the court an apology.
Hmm?
The Cavaliers are bad with law enforcement ties. Yet a murder occurred during a concert. Apparently this caused some confusion over jurisdiction. As a result, some reports were not filed in an entirely timely manner. I'm not sure I like the vibe I'm getting here.
Hey, Apollo. Look at him. Why is Prosecutor Gavin all relaxed and smiling like that? Like, he knows something we don't! And he's about to tell us!
I've got an idea. Let's rock! With these documents! But before that, I have a question for the friendly detective, if I may. What? Tell me, why do you think that Maki Tabaye is blind? Huh? What do you say? What are you saying? Of course he's blind! Of course! He's the blind pianist, right? So, the blind pianist, so he doesn't mommy lead him around by the hand all the time? No way. I have a report here on the defendant, Maki Tabaye. According to this, Maki Tabaye can see perfectly well. What?
What?
His blindness was merely a publicity ploy by those clever Burgundians. He can see quite well. Objection! But you said... What did I say exactly? Therefore, not once in the course of this trial have I claimed the defendant was blind. The only one who did was Friendly Detective. But that's a significant fact, yes. Consider Maki Tabaye says. and he was the only one who could have fled through that air vent. I see the problems with this. But what about the bullet holes in the wall? Yes, the bullet holes. I believe Airford neatly explained those first. He didn't miss because he couldn't see. It was the kickback from the 45 caliber revolver. A simple accident, in other words. How's that? I'm afraid your objection has just flown off for brighter skies. This is where the real fun begins, Alfred. I knew you didn't have what it took. You jerk! Just what was I in here for? Comic relief?
Yeah! Apologize!
Oh, sorry.
That's no way to apologize.
He's angered like choosing now. Look out.
Ahem. If we could please end the bickering now.
Whatever. I'm not leaving. I can't leave like this. I'll come up with some clue to solving this case if it kills me!
But your testimony has already given us enough to convict the defendant.
Don't say that. Aha! Aha, what? This bloodstain. The criminal tried to wipe it off, right? That seems to be what happened, yes. We might be able to find out what it was really written there. Really? You can do that? That's right. With this. It's called luminol. Maybe you know of it? It's a chemical that reacts to blood. Yes, we have done those tests. Have we done those tests yet? Ha! As if I'm gonna tell you. The bloodstains covered the section of the carpet. In order to perform blood tests, that section was removed and submitted. That's what you requested here in the court now. Right, go for it, Apollo. Huh? I have to do the test? You just have to spray the luminol on it. Simple. The chemical that reacts to blood. I've heard of this somewhere.
Yes, I believe an analysis is called for. Have at it!
Alright. And I'm gonna spray it in.
The next episode.
This is like watch this episode of Apollo just make sure like a strap up and no tell me up, which is
every single day.
Bye-bye.